Hello and welcome back. This is Sherry with Heart and Soulful in the studio today with another item that I've just listed in my Etsy shop. I wanted to share with you to go through so you can kind of see everything up close and personal. If you are just joining me for the very first time, welcome. I hope if you enjoy this video, you'll give me a thumbs up, click on subscribe so that you don't miss out on future videos. This is a listing for a group of rusty fabrics that I had hand rusted when I actually did the first volume of my Bodhi Vintage Grunge Journal series. So this is volume 1, which was done last year, and it took me this long to get around to getting some actual scans done and get those listed in my Etsy shop. So I just did that earlier today and got it on there, and actually have already sold one. Thank you, Susan, with a nice little note saying that she was waiting for that. So I will put a link if you're just catching me and I haven't watched this series. I'm working on the second volume of this Vintage Grunge Journal series with the volume 2 for my Bodhi journal. So I decided I needed to really get on it and kind of get some of these things listed. So far I have listed the vintage wallpaper, grungy wallpaper pack, the fresco finish background pack, and then now a rusty background pack. I'm going to be doing 2 more of these. I had some more fabrics that I wanted to do. They did take me quite a while to get them ready to get listed, because I wanted to do some color adjustments just for the variety. So when you get these, there will be 8 different designs, and each one is on an 8.5 by 11 size, because that's what most people are printing size. And so you can see on this first, this is the thumbnail of the Etsy listing, and you'll see all 8 designs right on the front. When I printed this out, just to show you different quality of printer, which I've kind of covered in previous videos, and I think I will continue to do that. I printed out just my first test print on just regular cheap copy paper. This is like 20-pound, just Walmart Pen and Gear copy paper. And you'll notice, I did it on just standard setting, nothing fancy. And you see these lines, and I wanted to point that out to you if you are just kind of new to this and just printing. See the little lines running through the black? That is what happens when you need to clean your nozzles. But also, even if you just print on up the setting, so instead of printing standard, you can print a little higher quality, and then you don't have those lines. So I had done a second test print just to show, and this is on hammer mill 32-pound paper with like a medium quality, and you can see that that's better. But then I also went this morning, once I knew I had my layout how I wanted it, I went ahead and printed it out on the really good Epson paper, the Premium Presentation Matter, in the high quality. And you can see that that's just much more dark black, and all the colors and the detail, you know, is just a little more intense on this. So I'm only showing you that just so if your printer is printing out maybe not as bright or brilliant or the depth of color, you might try a better paper or higher setting on your printer. So I'm going to go through each of these. I printed them out again, just for my test prints. I printed them all out just on cheap copy paper so that you can see what that would look like. And you can see that they were all done on fabric. So even though it's printed on paper, you see all that detail and the grain of the fabric. And then I printed them out on actual fabric. So this was done on white paper. And then I printed the same thing out, but on like a kind of an off-white ecru colored fabric, just a thin cotton fabric, you know, plain old cheap cotton fabric, and printed those out so you can kind of see just the slight difference in the color, because this is done on off-white versus done on white. So you could print it out on like off-white cardstock, creamy cardstock, and then you would get more of this kind of color. You can also adjust the color. These are all just 300 DPI JPEGs. So you can actually, you know, once you've downloaded it, you can actually make a copy and adjust the color as you like, if you want it to be a little lighter, brighter, or whatever. And then this one again is on white, but this is on the good Epson paper, just to show you the difference in the quality and the detail you get, and that the color is a little bit different. So again, you can just kind of see that actual grain in the fabric. So that's number one. And then this is the second one. And on this one, I had used some different old rusty keys and nails and some coins in different parts. And then the gray that you see is kind of also some tea stain on top of the rusted metal. So this is again on the cheap white paper and then on the off-white fabric. And you can still see, even on the paper, you can still see the fabric grain, which is just really kind of nice. So if you're wanting to do something in paper, you can. And then this is on the really good Epson paper. And so just a slight difference, brighter color. So that's number two. And then number three, this again is on the inexpensive copy paper. And then this is on the good Epson paper, and it's really weird. You can almost feel a texture even though it's on paper, but you can see the grain of the fabric. Just really clear, scans. These were done with scanning. And then again on the off-white fabric, just to see the difference. So that's number three. And then this one I really like. I did a couple of pieces that I dyed instead of dyeing them on fabric, which most of them were actually dyed on white fabric that was very similar to this. But this piece and then one other piece, and I'm not sure if it's in this pack or in it isn't in this pack. I did on cheesecloth, or not cheesecloth, on the scrim, which is kind of like a cheesecloth. You can kind of see through it more. I use it all the time, and I've kind of shown it. I have a piece here. So it's done on kind of a thinner fabric that you can see through. So those kind of were a little bit different in the grain of the fabric. This is printed on the just cheap copy paper. And then again on the good Epson paper. And then on the fabric itself. Okay, and then the next one, I got three more here. This would be number 6. And again, this one is on cheap paper. And this one you can kind of see there was some actual rusty screen on this one. And then on the good Epson paper, you can just see it's a little brighter and clearer. And like I said, you can copy those and dull them down if you want. But most of us, when we end up doing something with them anyway, then we're also using like vintage photo or something around the edges, which are going to change the way that looks too. And then on the fabric, and I just love how this one turned out on the fabric. It's just a really nice, get all the detail. And number 7. And this one, left out in the sun a really long time, it really kind of almost burns through the fabric and gets some really black spots in the rust too. And then on the good Epson paper, you can just see the difference, how bright that is. And then on the off-white fabric. And then actually there's 2 more here, so this must be number 7. And this again, this one was originally rusted onto the scrim as opposed to just white cotton fabric. So this is on the cheap paper. And I made this one a little lighter, lightened it up just a little bit. And this one is on the Epson paper, the same print. You can see all the texture of the fabric. And this one has like little gears kind of in it. And then the actual off-white fabric. And the last one, I really like how this one turned out. This is on the cheap copy paper. Almost has kind of a tie-dyed effect. And then I can't remember what I used for that. Maybe nails, or I'm not even sure. Springs, maybe that was the springs. I have some really giant size rusted springs. And I really like how that turned out a little brighter on the good Epson paper. And then the actual printed on fabric. So all these fabrics I'm showing you are not the original rusted fabrics. They are my prints onto fabric. So I just wanted to be able to show you some different ways. You could also print this on vellum. I didn't do any from this set yet, but I've shown in previous packs what it looks like to print on vellum too. But that would be a nice addition to this little set. So that is my share for my first eight rusted fabric backgrounds. And like I said, there may be two more coming in the future. I did put, if you have been following my series, which I'll put a link to that below for the new series also. And if you've been following that, I do have a freebie file. There are two fabrics. I'm not sure. I know one of them is not a duplicate of what's in here. I think there are two different ones, and they were not color adjusted at all. So they're in the freebie file. You can find them there. So there's two more free fabrics that you can do, and adjust the color as you might want to. So that's it for today. I will put a link in this video. I'll put a link down below for this Etsy listing if you haven't found it already. And we're going to get to working on the next thing. I did have a request to upload my video of my book haul, my antique book haul last week. I have the video done, but I want to do some scans and maybe have a little kit together of vintage book things too. So I'm going to work on that, and also on the volume 2 of the Bodhi Journal. So I better get to it. So have a great rest of your day. Now go make something. Bye.